Welcome to the Courage Barbell Unlimited podcast with your host, legendary powerlifter and strength athlete, Chad Ikes. For most, the journey of strength starts in the gym, but should inevitably expand through all aspects of life. Join us as we discuss all things strength. Now, here's your host, Chad Ikes.
Hey guys, we're back again, and today we're going to talk a little bit about Amber's competition and the women's pro-am. We're going to talk about like just meets, what you should do after meets, what you can hopefully learn about from your meets. But I'm going to start with one little story just because I find this pretty interesting. I worked all day and I decided I needed to get my fat ass out and went for a ride on my BMX bike. And I stopped to get a drink, and I ran into this young kid who rides by on his BMX bike. And he's like, "Hey, nice bike." And I'm like, "Thank you, man. That's a nice bike too. What frame is that?" So we end up talking for like 10 or 15 minutes and just talking about bikes and riding. And eventually I'm like, "So what are you in like high school or what?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm in 7th grade." And I'm like, wow. Okay, this is kind of interesting. Like, and then at one point I'm like, "Well, I'm 51 and I'm still riding." He goes, "What? You're 51?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Holy shit, I thought you were like 30 or something." And he's like, "What tricks can you do?" And I'm like, "I just ride a lot right now." And I'm like, "What can you do?" So he jumps this curb. But I thought it was really interesting because I think a lot about a lot of stuff. And
can confirm.
It was actually cool to run into a young kid who is out riding his bike and who actually just wanted to make a connection with another human being in person and not on social media or anything like that. And I mean, I was like, in my head, I'm like, man, I got to get home. But like, I'm like, this kid's actually reaching out. He actually came up to me. Like, I want to promote this. Like, I don't want to like shun this. Like, this is actually pretty cool to see. And then I'm like, fuck, what kind of fucking weirdo am I talking to a young kid? But it was still cool. I mean, talking about bikes and different parts and what we want to do. And he was telling me about these other parks that he rides at.
That's awesome.
And it was just cool to see, like, the world can be so goddamn depressing, especially if you're on social media and watching the news, to actually have an interaction with a young person who just actually doesn't want to message me. He just wants to talk in person and like just see somebody else that's doing something he likes. And he's like, "Hey, that's a nice bike, man." Like, I don't see kids doing that very much. So
that's really cool.
I thought that
we
was
haven't
an
had a
interesting
chance.
Story.
We didn't have a chance to talk much today. So that's the first time that I'm hearing that story.
Yeah.
I love that happened.
It was pretty interesting. It's good for my personality to see that every now and then.
Yeah, and that kid was probably so jazzed about it, and he probably went home and like, I don't know, told his parents or told his friends, like, how sick is this?
Yeah.
That's really cool. I love that.
So, the women's pro-am, what are we, 2 weeks? Are we 2 weeks out of that?
Yeah.
Like, time between
almost.
us is just a weird warp time thing for me.
I don't even know what day it is. Is it Thursday?
So we're a week or two past.
We're almost 2 weeks out because I competed on Sunday.
And so tell me how you did. I mean, I know how you did because I was there. You tell me your take on it.
You were there. As far as like goals accomplished, I had one goal going into that meet. And that was to get the all-time world record squat at 198. And I accomplished that. That was my one goal. Everything else was like extras, cherry on top.
Wait a minute. We did talk about totaling over 18.
Yeah. That was a cherry on top that I didn't get that cherry.
So it was kind of a goal, but it wasn't like you were focused on. It wasn't
the main one.
Okay.
I was very focused on that squat. I knew that's what I wanted. My training reflected like squat heavy specific programming. And that's what I had intended on getting. Like I even had to cut a little weight, which fucking sucked, but I did. um yeah, that day was miserable.
It wasn't
But
too far. You weren't really that far off.
no, but like for me, and I don't know, other people are probably way better at cutting weight than I am and have it down to a science, but like every time I have to cut, it just gets harder and harder because I keep getting leaner, which is cool, but heavier, which is also cool. But then if I want to go cut down to a smaller weight class, it's more taxing.
Mm-hmm. I think that, I mean, that's why I cut for one competition and went, wait a minute, there's an unlimited? Why am I not in that? Like, cutting weight sucks.
Yeah. Well, that's why we fought so hard or one of the reasons we fought so hard for some of those extra weight classes for the women is to give them room to grow.
I think I interrupted you, but
no, you're good.
That's like a weird side note because I didn't actually realize that because I'm kind of on like, I don't compete, so I don't look into it quite as much as I used to, but I train clients. Yeah. So like, I'm not totally oblivious to it, but that was still seems like a fairly new thing to me because women used to be like 198. No, yeah, if you were more than 198, you were super.
Yep.
Which left this huge, massive range.
Yeah.
Where it's like, Jesus, if I'm like 210, I better go 198 because I'm not even close to the 270 like pound girls.
Correct.
So now they have weight classes up to, what are they now?
They match in most federations, big federations, they match the men's classes. So they'll go all the way up to 308 and then 308 plus is super heavyweight. And then in the APF and USPA, I believe, they added 220 and 242 and then 242 plus is super heavyweight.
Which is still not bad. I think that needed to happen.
No. Oh, it was time. And we had like, this is a whole...
Because there's a lot more women in the sport now. And
yes.
That's just not fair to be like 200 pounds and you got to compete with a girl that's 270 or 275.
Yeah, like if we were looking at it when these like weight classes were made, you might have one woman competing in a meet, if that. But now it's like we have whole full meets that are 2-day meets, 3-day meets that are all female platforms. And it's just the women are crushing it and they're like filling out these weight classes and taking over and doing all this cool shit. So it's like, okay, it's time to expand. It's time to give women room to grow. It's time to give those weight classes or those people within those weight classes a place to compete so that there's a more level playing field, basically. Mm-hmm.
And that kind of leads into, this was the women's pro-am meet. This is women only. Yes, and it was a 2-day meet, and it was, I can't remember how many, it seems like there were 60 some odd lifters each day.
Yeah, there were, I think, registered 70 something for the amateur day. And then the pro day had like almost 60 in the 50s, maybe. Which is I have to go look.
That's a good meet for a male-female meet.
That's a pretty full meet. I think the flights were like, was it like 15?
Yeah, they were kind of big flights. Yeah.
They were big flights, but you have a big meet, you gotta have big flights. It's 2 days.
And that's hats off to Laura Phelps because she basically, this is her competition.
This is her baby. This is the 11th year.
I was just going to ask, the 11th year.
11th year.
It gets bigger every year.
Yep, absolutely.
And had a new venue this year, which was way cool.
Oh, it was awesome. Brand new venue, Butler County Fairgrounds in Hamilton, Ohio. Huge, like fairground, kind of like arena, giant, like concrete pad.
It's basically what I want my barn dominion to be.
Yes, the barn-do. We could do so much stuff in that. We could have a skate park and everything.
Which I would definitely have.
Yeah. But it was amazing.
So we kind of got off your meet. So let's talk about your opening squat. Well, first, let's start with your warm-ups.
Yeah. Warm-ups felt good. Everything was like solid in warm-ups. I didn't really have any issues. I had practiced the warm-ups and had worked up to around an opener 2 times before this meet. So like no surprises. I wrapped
Oh, there was a
my.
surprise.
Oh, there was a surprise on the platform. Don't freaking give it away. I wrapped at like, I think 650, like a light wrap. Took that, no issues. And then I wrapped at 700, and that was my last warm up in the warm up room. No issues with that at all. Popped right up.
Yeah, your
And
last. For anybody that wants to know, I got to put a little collage together, but I have videos of a couple of your warm ups and all your squats, basically all your lifts, which I'll eventually put up. They want to see them, and I know on your Instagram you put a bunch of videos up. But yeah, your warm ups all looked really good.
Yeah, they felt great. And then my opener was 730. This was all calibrated kilos on a Sportcraft bar, so the pound rounding that I'm about to say is just pound rounding because I don't know what the kilo is.
The awesome Sportcraft bar.
Oh God, I love that bar so much. That was the first and only bar that I've ever bought myself. Actually, that's not true. I have an Elite FTS power bar in the garage. But the Sportcraft bar is my baby. So I got up to the platform. Everything was great. Pick felt good. I was like off somehow. Like, I don't know if it was rooting or the suit was kind of off, but my right knee kicked out weird. And I went down with it and came back up with it. And at that like last couple of inches coming up with it, I started falling backwards. And then Bane caught me and I was like, ugh.
Yeah,
that still sucks.
It had good speed, but like I still wonder if it wasn't because you had mentioned your feet were falling asleep.
Yeah, true.
That your
I
feet
couldn't feel my feet.
Your feet weren't set up the same. So when you came up, the one side locked out way faster than the other side. And it still came up fast. It wasn't the weight that was the issue. It's just that the one side locked out, which threw you off, and then you fell back at the top.
Yeah, and this is where all of my problems for the rest of the meet originated.
And that was 7. What was your opener?
730 something.
Okay. So then
I don't even think that we didn't change the suit or anything. So I didn't get that lift. So I missed my opener, which sometimes that'll fuck with people.
Mm-hmm.
But I've missed openers in the past and it's like, all right, cool, whatever. I know what I need to fix. I had like a quick huddle with Dave, talked to Marcus, and Dave in training, he had been talking me through every single squat and I could hear him clearly and he would, cue me with what I needed to hear. He knew what I needed to hear. And I think I was just too amped up for that first one and didn't check all my boxes. So he was like, all right, I'm going to be louder. I'm going to get closer to you. We're going to do all of this other stuff. And you're just going to go do the second one right.
And what did you go to in your second attempt?
775, I think, somewhere around there.
So basically, my point I'm working around to is you missed your opener, but still went up in weight on your second attempt.
Yes.
Where I think a lot of people, when they miss that opener, they freak out.
Yes.
And you got to be smart enough. Sometimes the best thing is to retake that weight.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes it's just a little technical thing.
Yeah.
And all you need to do is go, wait a minute, here's what I did wrong. So we know my training. We know how I did. I feel good today. It's okay. Just go up and fix what happened.
Especially in geared lifting too, because there's just so many more variables in that.
And just because you missed it doesn't mean you're not strong enough. It just means you tweaked something.
So in raw meets, when I've missed my opener, I have retaken the weight and fixed a few things and it was fine. But if I had gone up in raw meets, that there was a higher chance that would come and bite me in the ass. But in this one, like, we just knew the routine. We knew it was going to be fine. And it was, thankfully. Because Dave came through. He talked me through everything.
Not thankfully.
Well,
It worked out good because you guys knew what you were doing and you were confident in what you had planned.
That's true. We stuck to the plan. And then also, like, Marcus, my coach, preaches this all the time, and it's mission oriented. Like, you have to be mission focused. The mission of this meet was to squat the world record at 198. And if I needed to, like, blow my load on the squat, which, spoiler alert, I did, then that's what we were going to do. So we had to go up to 775 in order to get to the end goal of 810.
Right.
Because I couldn't have repeated 730 and then gone 810. I mean, I might have tried that, but who knows?
So then you went out on you did good in your second. There was no problems. Didn't look hard. Yep. Speed looked good.
No issues. It felt like, because I've taken that weight before, it felt like that weight feels. And I was like, cool, we're in the meet. We didn't bomb.
Which is always a relief.
Oh, yeah. After that one, I was like, thank God.
Whenever anybody would ask me, how you feeling? I'll be like, I'll let you know after I get a squat in.
I hate that question.
The first squat, because I don't care. I've had, like, I would go up to 1,000 pounds, and for my last warm-up, it'd be something over 1,000 pounds. And it'd feel horrible, and I'd be loose. And I'm like, yeah, it doesn't matter. I'll let you know after the and then I'll go on the platform and smoke 11. And then I'd be like, yep, okay, we're good.
Yeah, we're good. Yeah, I hate that question.
Or if I go out and do my opener and it feels like shit, then I'm like, oh, crap, it's going to be a long day.
Here we go. Yeah, my opener didn't feel like shit. It was just off. Something was a little wrong, which I was like, okay.
And I think that takes...
We can fix that.
I think that takes knowing your body enough to go, hey, This is not a strength thing. This is not an overtraining thing. This is not a came into the meet wrong. This is just a technical thing.
It's an
something wasn't exactly right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Adam was really good too. He had the videos and everything.
So on your third, you went, what was it,
810.
810.
810.2. I do know that kilo.
Which is the all-time squat for the 198-pound women.
Mm-hmm.
All-time, highest ever.
All-time, 198. That record was Becca's, and it was like 18 years old.
So then after that, you got to think, okay, I got the squat, but if I don't finish the meet, it don't count.
Exactly. And I was smoked from that 810. I don't know if you know this, but that is the first multiply squat I have ever grinded. I've never grounded.
But even that, I think, because you had some issues that I think all stemmed from that first one, because like we said, what was it? Your left side, I think, locked out like super fast. Was it your right side that locked out?
Mm-hmm.
And so everything, like that whole squat, you twisted all the way up.
Yeah, my entire right side of my posterior chain was just absolutely lit.
And it seemed like we were doing some things to get it. And we had what's the girl's name? The therapist that was
we had Mackenzie, who is from, what's her crap? It's like Indie City Muscle or Indie No, it's not Barbell. She's a massage therapist, Mike and Mackenzie, out in Indianapolis. And they come to Elite sometimes on the weekends. And she's worked on me before, so has Mike. And she was there and hooked me up with some like movement and twisting, palpitations, and like loosened me up a little bit, which helped a lot. So it didn't fix everything.
We had that, and I broke out my new PEMF device.
Yeah, the PEMF.
It seemed like everything we did, we could get it to relax for a little bit, but then it would kind of start coming back.
Yeah, which was fine in the moment. And I was all jacked up on adrenaline the entire day and excited, so that helped.
So then when you started warming up for your bench...
Oh, this was even before I started warming up for bench, because I knew how my body felt. I went and I turned to Marcus and I was like, I can't lose this total. Go change my opener. I'm going to open raw. Because bench training...
You can't lose the squat.
Yeah. Because bench training was iffy in my shirt. and I wasn't sure if I was going to get a touch. I wasn't sure if I was going to complete a lift because it had been so hit or miss. And then I wasn't feeling well. Like my right erector, glute, hamstring, hip, trap, everything was just like someone stuck a lightning rod in the whole right side of my back of my body.
So see, that's actually a really interesting point too. And this is all for like the listeners to like, going into a meet is just not going into a meet and being a meathead. Like you got to be realistic with yourself. Yep. And like you said, you're like, okay, well, squats were great going into the competition, but there were some issues with bench shirts and which one you were wearing and da 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 da. And so you knew you had confidence you would going into it, and you weren't like, oh, bench didn't go perfect, I'm not doing the meet. But when it came down to it, you're like, all right, realistically, my bench training wasn't the best coming into this. Mm-hmm. We did the best we could. Now I'm dealing with these other issues that could affect my leg drive,
make it
and
worse.
My arch. So you went, I know my body. I know where I'm at. I want to keep this squat. So let's just go ahead and open with.
And get open with
220
raw. And I was just, you have to be flexible, and you have these goals that you're trying to achieve. And if the mission was getting that all-time world record squat and I bombed out on bench, I don't get that squat. That would absolutely suck real hard.
So you go out to do your 225. And my favorite part about this is you still had Dave hand off 225.
I don't know why he even came out. Maybe it was just like muscle memory or whatever. But I warmed up in the back. I warmed up raw, and then I got in my shirt. And then, actually, no, I warmed up raw, took my opener. Warmed up raw, took a few reps to boards in my shirt, took the shirt off, took my opener, then went and put the shirt back on and took my last warm up, because that had put me at the very beginning of the last flight,
right?
Being opening raw. And then my second attempt in bench was 451, I think. Yeah. And I had hit that multiple times in training to the chest, like whatever. No
but
big
still,
deal.
For the people that don't know, 225 is not. Like 225 is nothing for you.
Oh yeah. Well, so the funny part
having Dave hand off for it was like, why is he even handing this off for her?
Marcus, even on the side, as I was getting up to go, he was like, "Hey, dude, don't forget that you have commands on this, because it's just nothing."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh shit, yeah, you're right. It's not just like a 225 bench warm up in the gym." Which is what I usually like. That's not even my last raw warm up before I get in a shirt. 275 is, or 300. So I was like, okay, yeah, good idea. I should remember the commands. And I don't even know. I mean, Dave came up there. We didn't even discuss it. And he just like, here, like, oh yeah, thanks. I didn't really need that, but thank you.
Yeah, that was funny. So
it was funny afterwards.
After you hit that, went and did your last warm up in the shirt, and then came out on your second attempt.
Yeah, my last warm up in the shirt was 405, and that went fine. It was a little wonky, and then we fixed the shirt setup because Dave's been getting me set in my shirt. And I don't even know if it was the shirt setup or if that was just a precursor to the shit that was going on in my back and hip and glute.
I think it was just a precursor.
Yeah, I do too. Because 405's never moved like that, ever. And I was like, yeah, it's fine. It still went up. So then I got on the platform. It didn't staple me, but it was not pretty. It was probably one of the ugliest benches I've ever attempted.
Yeah, it was like your right. I can't remember which. I think it was your right.
It was my right hip.
Like your right hip just came up and over, like it was not going to play well.
Like I was going to roll. It was weird. And then I was like, well, that sucks. Glad I opened raw. And then just repeated that same way. Same thing happened. Except I think I tried a little harder. but the
Yeah,
same exact thing
I
happened.
think you almost locked that one out, but your hip was, you could tell you didn't have the leg drive with both legs. It was totally strange.
Yeah.
So then at that point you're like, okay, I got my world record squat, or
Yep.
I got my all-time squat. Bench, I'm in the meat.
Yeah, I'm in the meat. I wasn't going to place in the total for sure.
Yeah, so how did you feel? Like, what were you thinking on your dead? Like, oh, I just got to get a dead in. Or like...
Yeah,
I mean,
basically.
And I'm asking these questions. I actually know what you did, but I'm still asking you.
Yeah.
Like, what were you thinking at that point?
So I talked to Dave a little bit and Marcus, and Dave was like, well, your total's already shit. Like, just like go take a token deadlift and be done. And then I'm like, it doesn't really sit right with me. And my dad came there and like they surprised me. So there was like that whole element of like, well, my back hurts really bad, but I know I can at least deadlift in like the low fives. And then I went and looked it up because I did cut to 198, and I looked up my last, because I pull raw. I don't pull in equipment because I haven't figured that out yet. I looked up my deadlift at 198 raw, and it was like 520 something. And I was like, oh yeah, I could pull a PR. Just eke a little PR out of there. So I ended up pulling 535 raw.
What did you open with?
I lowered my opener. My opener was 507. I lowered it to like 470 something, or 465.
Which went really easy.
Oh yeah, it flew up. And then as soon as that opener flew up, I was like, all right, cool. We can make a bigger jump and like go for that PR. I'll be fine.
Did you go for the PR in your second attempt or your third attempt?
My third attempt. My second attempt was 507. So my original projected opener was my second attempt. And that flew up too, which was good. And I'm like, all right, we can push it a little bit. And then even 535 wasn't, like, it slowed down at the lockout, but it wasn't a total grinder puke fest.
But a lot of things going on that weren't the best, and you still hit a PR deadlift.
Yeah, I can't be mad at that.
So what was your take after the meet? Like, what was your take on that? How did you feel? What were you thinking?
I mean, I felt great. I learned a lot of things. I learned that I've gotten a lot better at just flexing as needed. I think this was like my 24th or 25th meet that I've ever done. So I've had that amount of times to figure this shit out.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a blast of a meet. I love that platform so much. It's a whole day of like a reunion with friends that you don't get to see that often, and you just basically get to go have a max effort SBD day with all of them.
So did you give much thought to like, well, I didn't get the total I wanted, my bench sucked. I'm like, when I did a competition, I don't care what happened in my competition. As long as I learned something, I was happy. Mm-hmm. So even if I bombed out, I was ticked I bombed, but I'm like, all right, did I learn something? Am I better because of this competition? And that my end thing for a competition was, am I better now? Mm-hmm. And so every meet, I always went, yeah, maybe I bombed out, but here's why I bombed out. My meet prep wasn't what I needed, or I picked too high, or I got too aggressive, or whatever. Like I could always find something that I learned.
Yeah.
Which made it okay. So I'm just kind of curious what your take was after the meet. Like, how did you look at it?
Yeah, I mean, overall, the meet was positive. I met my number one objective, the one thing I wanted to do that day, I got. So it wasn't a total loss. I also didn't get seriously injured. I was messed up, but I was not injured. I learned a lot about, like, Dave and I kind of had a quick text message debrief on things with bracing and core strength and suit tweaking, and then also just looking at the training in general, because this entire prep was very focused on the squat. And I could have probably put more effort into my bench technique in the shirt. And so that could be better. And then deadlifts, just like, if my squat's getting bigger, then my deadlift probably is too.
Mm-hmm. I think that's
so
true.
I definitely learned. There's lessons learned from every single meet, and I haven't had a chance to talk to Dave or do a full debrief with Marcus, because Marcus probably took a shitload of notes and stuff that we'll go over. But I definitely have a lot of takeaways from that entire day to make the next one better. I don't have another equipped meet planned for the rest of the year, so the next one I'll do is 2024.
So I think from my experience, I see a lot of lifters, especially the younger or mid-level lifters, that do a meet and then they're like, oh, time to get back to training, got to get stronger. And like, that's like their biggest takeaway from a competition is I got to get stronger. And there might be a point to that, but I've never seen a top lifter who that was their takeaway.
Yeah, no shit, you have to get stronger. That's the game that we're playing. But people who understand themselves and understand the way that they work will be able to pinpoint things easier. And if you're just starting and you're a beginner, like, yeah, you do need to get stronger, but maybe take that time to reflect and get feedback from your coach, feedback from training partners, other people, and really, really be honest with yourself of that entire prep or the year leading up to that meet or however long it took you, of like, did I eat right? Was I drinking water? Did I sleep okay? Was I stretching and doing my mobility? Was I doing all the other shit that actually really matters so that I can be recovered enough to make those training sessions worthwhile?
Well, I think
and that's where I think people fuck up.
I think, first of all, I don't see it as I got to get stronger. I see it as, am I lifting the most weight I can possibly lift? It's not about strength. It's about who lifts the most weight.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of ways to lift more weight without being stronger. So I want to lift the absolute maximum my body can lift. Then I want to get stronger.
Yeah.
And like, I see so many guys, especially at the state level, that are like, man, I hit that weight 2 weeks ago. And then their next meet, they're like, God damn it, I hit that weight 2 weeks ago. And it's like, dude, at some point after one of those meets, you need to go, why did I hit this 2 weeks ago, but I didn't do it at the meet?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think
the question that needs to be asked.
Yeah, like, I think when you get done with that meet, you need to review, like, how was my prep coming into this meet? Was I 100% on the platform? Mm-hmm. If not, what can I change and do better?
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, okay, I did the meet. Now I have my, even if you are a person that looks into technique, which I think all lifters should learn and know technique, there's technique in the gym and then there's technique on the platform. And the technique on the platform is really going to show you, I feel it's really going to show you where your weak points are. Because you're at maximum. You should have trained to come into the meet right. You're at your full strength. So that's going to be the easiest place to go, really, what are my weaknesses? And that could be your technique. It could be a muscle group. It could be a mental part. It could be your, like you said, like, how are you eating coming into the meet? How did you eat on meet day?
Yeah.
Like, if you got to the deadlift and you're cramping up and you're having all these issues, well, then you obviously didn't get the nutrition you needed to maintain throughout the day.
Yeah.
And so a meet is just it's not like you do the meet and then leave. Like, the meet is one of the greatest places to actually learn about yourself and actually up your game to being a better lifter and putting up better numbers.
Yeah. Like, celebrate the successes that you have and be excited, and, celebrate your buddy's success and be excited for them and your training partners or whatever. But then give yourself that time to really reflect and really try and understand, okay, how do I make this better for next time? And that's going to be different for everyone.
That's an interesting concept, though, because, like, maybe it should be like, oh, hey, you're I know you want to get back into the gym, but your next week or two after the gym is to contemplate the meet.
Yeah, that's true.
That's your training for the next week or week and a half is to contemplate
if you're a
the
coach,
meet.
program that.
Mm-hmm. Like
journal about
I want
it,
a 2-page single spaced.
Oh my God, that would be so funny. That's actually not a bad idea at all.
Like make them actually sit down and write it.
That should be a thing. Or if they don't like to write, like make them do like a video log or something for you, or like talk to the phone, or a bullet background paper or some shit. That's brilliant.
And just get them thinking about looking at strength in a different way, looking at competitions in a different way, looking at training in a different way.
I like that too, from a coach and athlete perspective, because typically Marcus and I won't talk about this stuff. We won't have a total deep dive of the competition until like maybe 2 weeks after. And when Dave reached out to me, he was like, I'm not going to get into it now. I got all kinds of notes and stuff, but like, here's a few little points. And he and I will probably talk about more things. But it gives the athlete, gave me a chance to figure out, okay, what do I think happened? And then as the coach, if I were them and if I were in the coach's position, I'd be like, okay, shoot, I do this with my cadets when we do feedback sessions. I'm like, how do you think you're performing? Mm-hmm. It challenges the athlete to self-reflect and really think about, okay, how do I think I did? Or how do I think I did? And really analyze their own performance. And then the coach can weigh in and be like, yes, I saw that you're on the right track. I also saw this, and this, and you can add it to
from a coaching standpoint, it also gives a coach an idea of what focal points the athlete has. And if he's focusing on stuff that it's like, maybe we need to look at your priorities. Maybe this isn't that important. Maybe this is important.
Yeah.
And then maybe he's worrying about things where it's like, dude, no, that part was fine. Like, you did good there.
Or maybe the athlete comes back and they're like, judging was so tight. Or you see all those meet posts, like, not today I wanted. They didn't give this to me. Like, no, you didn't earn it.
Yeah.
And they might be biting off on things that are trivial, or they're leaning on insecurities or something. Mm-hmm. And not that coaches should be therapists or anything, but like a coach is a mentor.
Well, no, I think that's more what coaching is than anything else.
I agree.
It's like going, hey, wait a minute, you could have went deeper on your squat. So do you want to keep this? Do you want this to keep happening? Or do you just want to go, hey, I didn't squat deep enough. I need to squat deeper to make sure I'm going to get this in.
Do you like bombing out? Because you can keep doing it very easily.
And get them to readjust and go, it's not, everybody's going to have stuff against them. The more prepared you come and already, the more prepared you are to overcome whatever comes at you.
Exactly.
That just sounded fucked up, but I think I got it.
I knew what you meant. I knew what you meant. I really like that idea of having the lifters programming be, hey, I want this, or I want to have a discussion on this day. Like, it doesn't have to be a freaking paper or anything, but I want them to think about that.
I like the idea of a paper because I hate writing. Mm-hmm. And it would make them, and it would make me, I'd be like, God damn it. Like, I got to write this damn thing. And it would actually make me think more about it, probably. Especially if I'm like, holy shit, he wants 2 goddamn pages. Like, I got to write 2 pages. Then I'd be thinking about more shit. Like,
I like the idea of a paper too.
It would make me go deeper into it, I think.
Teaching classes.
Well, it reminds me of the Chasing Mavericks movie that just popped into my head, where it's a surf movie about, God, I can't remember the kid's name. But when he was a little kid, he found one of the guys that like first started surfing Mavericks, and he kept making him write in papers, about surfing and the weather and the swells and all this stuff. And I thought, what a great way to make somebody remember and really, really put some thought into those things.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I do for every competition. I think I just shared. So my next contest is Raw and Sleeves in October. And I'm already putting together my document of things that I need to work on, weaknesses that I have, and then ideas to overcome those weaknesses and build the total again. Because I got goals there. I shared it with you in my Google Docs of like my American Pro plan.
I got the email this morning, but I haven't had a chance to read it yet.
I figured. But like I do that reflection and I go through, like I went through the entire roster and ranked everyone by their dots category because it's a money meet. And
so
over
placing is going to have importance over numbers.
Yes. Yeah, and these bigger ones, it's interesting because like obviously you want a PR in your meets, but you do have to start looking at your competition. It's kind of like that threshold of you got beginner and you're just trying to do good and post totals, and then you get to that intermediate level where you're kind of fooling around with competition. You want to try and place, maybe get to a national stage, and then the elite level is you're trying to figure out where you place currently and like what you can do to get into that like top 5 or 3, and it becomes more strategy.
Well, I think that depends on the money.
Yeah.
Like in my day, there wasn't as much money in it. So winning a meet meant, hey, cool, I won the meet. But we were going to meets going, I want to put up the biggest goddamn number ever. And if I can get an all-time number or a world record, that's what I'm after. Like, where do I rank in the all-time list?
Mm-hmm.
That was more important than placing or winning the meet.
Yeah.
And so I think it's really interesting to have competitions where it's like, wait a minute, now it's not about the numbers, it's about winning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and it takes like numbers to win, but it's still, it's a little different. It seems like a different approach, I guess.
It definitely is. Because I mean, I still value that stuff. Like I want all-time world records. Like I'm gonna go for all-time world records at this next meet. But also, like, if there's a chance for me to win, like they're putting out life-changing money now. Like 10, 20, 30, 40 grand.
Yeah,
that's a salary.
I would go, that would allow me to train the next year for the all-time numbers.
Yes.
That's the way I would look at it. I'm like, I win enough money, that's going to make my training that much better.
Mm-hmm. And the amount of visibility at these like big time raw meets, if we're talking about like sponsorships or partnerships or whatever, like people have stipends, people will coach as their primary job, but then also get money from different companies depending on if it's like gear or apparel or whatever. And people are making livings in powerlifting nowadays.
Really?
Yeah. Maybe not from all of their winnings. If you're just talking about like winning meets, prize money, making a living, they might be coaching on the side or they might have some other side, but like they're living off of the sport, which is cool. They're still very rare, but it happens.
Yeah, I mean, I know guys that are coaches that are making money, and the more fame, the better they do in powerlifting, the more clients they get.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's cool. The evolution is very interesting.
So, when's that competition?
End of October.
So it gives you quite a bit of time to work on everything. I think the thing I wanted to hit on, and I think we hit on it really good, was that you have one of the best female powerlifters in the world, and she's not just going, "Oh, hey, got to get stronger." Like she didn't get to that level by just going, "Oh, I got to get stronger. I got to get stronger." There's a whole lot more thought put into it than I just got to get stronger.
Yeah. I have to get bigger. I have to get more in shape. I have to get more mobile. I have to get more mentally resilient. It's all of that even before I have to get stronger. Yeah, obviously you have to get stronger, but I have to dial everything else in to make those numbers go up. It's a system.
And all of those factors ultimately have to do with how strong you are.
Mm-hmm. That's what they all feed into. So yeah, overall it was an amazing meet, amazing experience. I love the Pro-Am. I think I've done it 3 times now. And I'd be happy just only doing the Pro-Am equipped every year. Because of the environment and the platform, and Laura is just incredible.
She's incredible for the sport.
She really is.
I mean, she was an amazing lifter and put up amazing numbers. Kind of like Eddie Cohn. Like,
yeah,
amazing lifter, put up amazing numbers, but still in the sport, still having a big impact. But I think Laura's even having more of an impact on female powerlifting.
Yeah, she was one of the pioneer, like her. I could list off all of them, but like she was one of the ones that kicked down the door. I think it was Katie Brent said this the best on her Instagram story. She's like, yeah, she kicked down the door, but after she kicked down the door, she held it open for everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
Which I was like, oh my goodness, yes.
Which, if you kick down the door, you don't really have to hold it open, but I get what you're saying.
All right, you know what I'm saying.
She ripped the door off so everyone else could still come through.
Yeah, she ran through the wall like the Kool-Aid man, and there was a big hole in it, and we could all get through.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, thank you, Laura.
Yeah, I'm amazed that when I do get to talk to these top women lifters, how many of them have mentioned Laura and how they were impacted by her, which is pretty huge. That's a big thing.
That's a legacy right there. Mm-hmm. She's a legend through her accomplishments in the sport and through her continued involvement in it and what she's created with the Pro-Am and with the Hive and Queen Bee Powerlifting and all of the people that she coaches. She coaches so many people. She coaches raw lifters. She coaches all walks of life and, of course, equipped lifters and the people over at Tiger Fitness.
And if you didn't listen to my interview with her on Courage Barbell Unlimited, go back and listen to it. I'll try to interview her again at some point.
Yeah, she's an angel.
So I think that's pretty good for today. I think that's a lot for people to think about.
Yeah.
I mean, so many people lift to get stronger. Most people, I would think, compete on some level, and I think competing is huge. I think competing's fun. I don't care if you just want to bench 315, do it on a platform. Like, it's cool. Going to a meet is cool. Having people around you is cool. Getting judged is cool. The whole thing's cool. But
the crowd.
And I think you really find out where you are and what your strength is if you go do that in a competition.
Yeah, absolutely. And also the constant self-evaluation. Like, it doesn't stop after the competition. Like, just always evaluating yourself and analyzing all of the little different things that you're doing and trying to make it better, make yourself better, make others better.
Yeah, and you have that
never ending.
Even if you do one meet a year, you have that drive to go, gotta get better. I gotta get better.
How do I do that? Let's analyze and find out.
All right, so until next time, we'll have more shit to talk about.
Always.
And I hope you guys keep listening. Check out CourageBarbell.com. Check out Amber's Instagram, what is your Instagram under?
It's amber.alice, and Amber has 2 R's in it. It's amber.alice.
God, it's complicated.
It's mostly just stupid memes, so
there's a lot of lifting stuff on there. And then you have a Patreon too.
I do. The Patreon's paused right now because I just wasn't keeping up with it because of work, but you can still subscribe if you want to. There's still a bunch of like older videos from earlier this year and beyond on there.
And maybe you'll start up for your when you get like closer to your next meet prep.
Yeah, that's the plan.
So how do they find that? Where's that at?
I have a link tree in my bio on Instagram, amberr.alice. So that's me on Instagram.
And then
Corn
check out
Mommy.
Courage Barbell on YouTube, couragebarbell.com, Chad Ikes on Instagram.
Yeah.
Whatever other shit I got going on.
There's just great YouTube videos that you posted on there. That new one on rooting is awesome. Good info.
I thought it was okay. It's all just my perspective.
It's good information.
All right. Until next time, we're out of here.
Bite.
Did you say bite?
I said bye.
Okay.
Bite. Get out of here.
Thanks for listening to the Courage Barbell Unlimited podcast. For more information, please visit couragebarbell.com. Until next time.